Hession, editor of the e-tail blog, and I'm here at e-tail Boston 2011 with Jacqueline Wasilius from Brooks Brothers. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here with us at the conference. Is this your first time?
At e-tail, yes.
Okay, great. And how do you find it so far?
It's been great. A lot of really provocative thought leaders here, and it's a really great networking opportunity as well.
Awesome. So now you come from the vendor side, and you just started with Brooks Brothers about a month or so ago, which is great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So can you talk a little bit about what you do at Brooks Brothers and what you're trying to do, and kind of the best practices and skill sets that you are bringing to the team now?
Sure. So, I was with eDialogue on the agency side for a little over 5 years, specializing on a bunch of retail client engagements. So really starting with owning and managing their email marketing programs, and then taking a look at in the broader world of online marketing in general. So how does this apply to social? How does this apply to mobile? How does this apply to just basic website? So, taking that experience and bringing it over to Brooks Brothers, I was originally brought in to just focus on email marketing. And now we're kind of taking a step back and looking at our overall online marketing program and really helping to drive the strategy. So I'm doing a lot of information gathering right now, but it's a very exciting time. It's a very exciting brand. I almost feel like I'm cheating because I've been on the vendor side and now I'm dealing with vendors, but it's given me really good insight into the capabilities and really understanding the operations behind what you're asking your vendors to do. I think there's a lot to be said for knowing all the nuts and bolts and the moving pieces instead of just making that request and having them come back and say, okay, it's going to cost X amount of dollars. I was actually managing the teams that did the work. So, it's brought really great insight, and looking forward to doing really great things at Brooks Brothers.
Yeah, no, it sounds really awesome. I haven't met too many retailers that have that experience, so Brooks Brothers is very smart for having you on the team. It's really great. So yesterday, or I'm sorry, 2 days ago at our workshop day, you participated in some talks about email, because obviously that's what you were brought on to do. So I wanted to just go through a couple of highlights of things that you discussed, things that people discussed, and maybe talk about the low-hanging fruit with email, because it's such a huge thing for retailers to tackle today. It's so important, and I guess a good place to start is just kind of what are some best practices with email and email marketing?
Sure. The one thing that I will always stress is know your data. Know your data, know your data. You'd be surprised how many people are running email marketing programs and they don't even know what their primary key is. Maybe it's email address, maybe it's customer ID, and if it's customer ID, do you have multiple customers on your database with the same email address but different customer IDs? And when you mail, where is that campaign data or purchase data going? And it's surprising, being on the agency side, how many just really blindly trusted, all of the people that handle their data. And it's really important to have great partners that work with you, because obviously you can't keep up with every second of every day. But knowing your data is just really important, and kicking the tires. So, a lot of people inherit email marketing programs and they just assume everything's working properly. But if you actually go in and you sign up and you follow the stream, you might notice that signing up with one preference unsubscribes you from another preference, and you might be falling on and off of lists and not even necessarily knowing it. So knowing your data, knowing how it means, basically the customer-centric view, what's your primary key, and also making sure that your data is sound, because you could come up with the most intelligent, forward-thinking strategy, and maybe it's an Excel program. But if one little piece of code is off when that's been written, maybe everything shifts over one. So you think you're upselling someone on buying a shirt, but this person was a lady's handbag purchaser. So, really making sure that you have a good focus and a good understanding of the data that you're working with, and building a really rich database. And then the other thing that I would really stress is using vendors that you can partner with, and making sure you have a full insight into what they're doing for you. So making sure that they're giving you all of the documentation behind all of your programs. Not just set it up for me and run with it, but set it up for me and make sure I have a really good understanding of how it's set up, because later on down the road you're going to want to tweak certain things in the program.
Right.
And it's good to know how all of the data works, and basically how it crosses, and having a good understanding of basically you're owning this program, and it's really owning the data, and working with the right people so that you're comfortable leaving it in their hands.
Right, right. Some good basic tips about email marketing, but just let's look at email marketing as kind of a channel and where it's going. Where do you see it evolving to? Are people going to start doing more innovative things with email marketing in terms of technology? Are we going to be starting to do kind of crazy things, or is it really just about the data, and it's always going to be about the data? Like, what's the future for email marketing?
Sure, and there have been a lot of discussions, is email dead? What's, happening with
Exactly.
email? People are very scared with, Facebook email
Right.
capability. Personally, I don't think email's going anywhere. But what I do think of it as, a lot of digital marketers see themselves in one channel. So
Right.
I'm an email marketer, I am a social marketer, I am a mobile marketer, and really the customer doesn't view his or herself as I'm an email customer, I'm a mobile customer, I'm a social customer. They just think of themselves as a unified person, and they'll choose how they want to interact with your brand. And it might be different channels that you're interacting with the brand on different days.
Right.
So maybe it's very convenient for you to purchase online Monday through Friday, but maybe on Saturdays and Sundays, you're looking through a catalog on your iPad. So
Right.
people are definitely going to pick and choose how they interact with your brand. And I think the future of email is really morphing all of the digital marketing channels so that you have one view of the customer. So if you're having a message and you really want to promote product X, it's sending a message, and maybe a certain amount of people get it on their mobile device, a certain amount of people get it on their email, a certain amount of people get it, and it's a blast on Facebook or Twitter. And all the follow-ups should really speak to each other that way as well. So if you have an email marketing program that's maybe 3 touch triggers, if a person's not responding, well, maybe we send a follow-up message on their mobile device, or maybe we poke them on Facebook. So it's really, I think the future is coming up with an integrated view so that the customer can hear from you and really pick and choose how they want to interact with your brand. So that's where I think it's going.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit about data, and obviously that's very important, and knowing that your data is sound. As far as segmentation goes, what are some of kind of the tactics there? Maybe what's some low-hanging fruit with segmentation? Just maybe some tips for retailers out there who are trying to get their heads around, there's so many possible ways I could segment my data, but, where should I start, or what are some easy wins?
Sure. So I think it's very, very easy to fall into the trap of analysis paralysis. So, some of the clients that I've worked on, I look at their segmentation strategies, and they have 58 different segments. They're slicing and dicing their database, and they don't really have a strategy behind each segment. And, my advice to other marketers would be, start small, start basic, and make sure that whenever you choose a segmentation methodology, make sure that there's a marketing strategy behind each segment. So it might be really interesting if you have a segment of people who buy blue shirts and a segment of people who buy pink shirts, but at the end of the day, if you're not prepared to treat them differently or customize their message based on that, well then maybe you need to take a further step back and look at it more from an aggregate level. So, I mean, I think some really basic segmentation strategies can be, coming up with your new to file customers. So giving them a welcome sequence, going through and making sure that they're comfortable with your program and trying to push them to make that first purchase.
Right.
And then you have a segment of people who are first-time purchasers, and maybe we want to convert them into multiple purchasers.
Right.
So those are really basic fundamentals. And then, but when you start, a lot of retailers start up front and they pay a lot of attention to the people who are new to file, who are new to making a purchase, and they lose sight of the other end, and that's the inactives. So if you're going to, especially when you have strategies to grow your list, it's so important that you have strategies to clean your list. So you have an inactive strategy. So maybe if a person hasn't interacted with you in about a year, in the email channel, maybe you send them some kind of reactivation message where you say, hey, do you still want to be a part of this list? And the other thing that's really important with coming up with both welcome programs and reactivation programs is, if you're an online retailer, you probably have all the data you need, But if you also have brick and mortar stores, it's very important to have that full 360-degree view, because you might see a person in email and you might see that they haven't opened an email in 2 years. But it may be that they're opening every single email. You're not capturing the open because they're viewing you on a window pane, in their email client.
Right.
But every time you send an email, they're shopping in a store. So it wouldn't make sense to take that person off the list and deem them inactive because they are actually active.
Right, and that's another interesting question, just to kind of end this off. As working for a retailer that has brick and mortar locations as well, what are your strategies for capturing email addresses in store? Because a lot of our retailers who are watching probably do have brick and mortar locations. So what are some easy wins there, capturing emails in store?
So, I think it's a certain thing with online retailers. Everyone knows that capturing an email address is important, but many retailers don't know how important it is or how to evaluate that.
Right.
So it's really looking at your own strategy. Some of the clients that I worked on back on the agency side had different methods of asking for email address, and there's always going to be a sensitivity because you don't want to slow down the purchase. So it's really, I think, my advice for other retailers would be figure out what an email address is worth to you and then tweak your strategy accordingly.
Okay.
So maybe you're capturing it when they make a purchase. Maybe it's on the back of a receipt that you're giving them. Maybe there is a signage in store and it says text your email to this short code and we'll give you a coupon. So I think it really depends on your business model. Everyone knows it's important, but it's just taking a view at all of the other channels that kind of affect that. So you don't want to slow down time to purchase, but I would recommend just having a really as much of a detailed view of what this email address is worth to you, so you can evaluate how you're going to go about asking for it and how persistent you're going to be about asking for it. A lot of stores I go to nowadays never ask me for my email address. And I feel like working in the email world for so long, whenever I go in and someone asks, I want to applaud. I want to give them a round of applause.
Right.
So, it's something that's important, and I think you're going to see more and more of it. But there are definitely different ways to capture it. Mobile sign up on the back of, receipts, getting a digital receipt. There's so many different venues, so it's just kind of assessing what fits for you and what's brand right and what's brand wrong.
Right. Okay, great. Well, some awesome fundamentals about email marketing, segmentation, capturing emails in store. It's really great to speak to you, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. And are you here for the rest of the conference, or?
I'm going home today.
Okay, all right.
I'll definitely be here next time.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you, hopefully at eTail West, and also our headquarters are literally right next door to yours.
Yes.
So the
come by
eTail
the store.
folks will have to come by and say hello. Thanks so much.